As you are aware, in October 2018, the Cannabis Act came into force. The objective of the Cannabis Act were twofold. First, it aimed to protect the health and safety of Canadians. Second, it provided for the establishment of a diverse and competitive legal industry made up of small and larger players to displace the illicit market. This balanced approach, with a focus on protecting public health and safety, guided the implementation of the Act. Since the start, parliamentarians have recognized the need for an early assessment of the government's new approach to cannabis control and included in the law a provision requiring a review. This is what is bringing us together today. The review will help ensure that the Act adapts to the current situation and continues to meet Canadians' needs and expectations. Pleased to introduce Mr. Morris Rosenberg, who will serve as the chair of the expert panel. Mr. Rosenberg has had a very distinguished career in the public service, serving as the Deputy Minister of the Departments of Justice, Health and Global Affairs. He also brings to the table an informed understanding of the important relationship between the Government of Canada and Indigenous peoples. Mr. Rosenberg will be supported by 4 other panelists with broad expertise in the fields of public health and public safety. These individuals will be named and announced shortly once the appointment process is complete.
The expert panel will provide independent and specialized advice to both ministers, myself and Minister Bennett, on the progress made in order to achieve the objectives of the law and will help identify priority areas to improve how the legislation works. The Act stipulates that the review must be conducted in particular on the health and cannabis use of young people, the impact on Indigenous peoples and communities, and the impact of cultivation of cannabis plants in the context of housing.
Will actually broaden that focus to include economic, social, and environmental impacts of the Act. B, progress towards providing adults with access to strictly regulated, lower-risk legal cannabis products. C, progress made in deterring criminal activity and displacing the illicit cannabis market, and the impact of legalization and regulation on access to cannabis for medical purposes. It will also consider impacts on Indigenous peoples, racialized communities, and women who might be at greater risk of harm or face greater barriers to participation in the legal industry based on identity or socioeconomic factors.
The expert panel will consult the public, other orders of government, stakeholder groups, and Indigenous partners, as well as stakeholders from the cannabis industry. Many Indigenous groups also are very interested in the legalization and regulation of cannabis. Minister Bennett and I are very pleased to see that they're participating in this process. Based on its conclusions and consultations, the expert panel will provide evidence-based recommendations identifying areas for improving the legislative framework. The panel's conclusions and recommendations will be tabled before both houses of Parliament within 18 months.
In conclusion, in 2018, our government legalized cannabis to protect the health and safety of Canadians, particularly minors, and to displace the illegal market. In the spirit of continuing the progress that we have seen and made so far, we look forward to receiving the panel's observations and advice, which will help better address the needs of Canadians, those using cannabis recreationally, as well as for medical purposes, while continuing to educate and protect the public on the health impacts of cannabis.